close your eyes and imagine America in the 1960s. Not just the headlines, but the little things. The whir of an oscillating fan on a summer evening. The smell of fresh-cut grass and a charcoal grill beginning to glow. The soft blue flicker of a television as the family gathered in the living room. It was a decade of upheaval, yes, but also one of surprising hope. The streets felt alive. Neighbors knew your name. The good humor truck chimed down your block. Children played until the porch lights came on. Radios carried Motown, folk songs, and rock and roll. And despite everything, the protests, the uncertainty, the growing pains, people still believed that tomorrow could be better than today. In this video, we're stepping back into that world to explore 15 everyday truths about life in 1960s America. Not just how people lived, but how they dreamed. From soda fountains to Sunday drives, this is the America many remember, and many more wish they'd known. After the quiet conformity of the 1950s, something began to shift. There was more color, more voice, more possibility. The post-war economy was booming. New suburbs sprawled across former farmland, ranch houses with carports, split levels with picture windows. For the first time, working families could afford more than survival. A second car, a color television, maybe even a boat. You could buy a house for $12,000, a new Chevy for $2,500. Gas was 30 cents a gallon. Supermarkets replaced corner stores. Carpeted living rooms appeared where hardwood once creaked. People didn't just survive, they began to live. And though life was still modest, the optimism was unmistakable. There was pride in progress. Pride in being able to say, "We're doing better than our parents did." Turn on the radio, and you'd hear the sound of a nation finding its voice. Motown poured out of Detroit, the Supremes, the Temptations, Marvin Gaye, music that crossed every line, racial, regional, generational. From California came the Beach Boys, singing about endless summer. From folk clubs came Bob Dylan and Joan Baez, voices asking hard questions. And in 1964, the Beatles landed and changed everything. When they appeared on Ed Sullivan, 73 million Americans watched. Teenagers screamed, parents worried, culture shifted. Music wasn't just entertainment, it was identity. Car radios blasted these songs as Mustangs cruised down Main Street. Jukeboxes and diners played them while kids shared milkshakes. It told young people, your voice matters. Your generation will change things. Walk down any street in the early 60s and you'd see conformity. Men in suits, women in conservative dresses. But by mid-decade, something broke loose. Miniskirts arrived, go-go boots, bright patterns. Young women weren't dressing for their parents anymore. Men grew their hair longer and traded suits for turtlenecks. Tie-dye emerged from San Francisco. Bell-bottoms replaced straight legs. Fashion became a statement. I'm not like you. I don't want to be. Even mainstream America was loosening up. Colors got brighter. Styles got bolder. What you wore said who you were. Mod, hippie, preppy, rebel. Clothes no longer whispered conformity. They shouted freedom. Tell us, what do you miss most about that era? Let's keep the memories of old America alive together. By the early 1960s, nearly 90% of American homes had a television set. The TV sat like an altar in the living room. 3 networks, ABC, NBC, CBS, that was it. Sunday nights meant Bonanza, Monday nights, Lucy. Walter Cronkite delivered the evening news with steady authority. And that's the way it is. When JFK was assassinated in 1963, the nation watched together. 4 days of coverage, a nation in shock. The moon landing in 1969, Vietnam footage, civil rights marches. TV brought the world home, the beautiful and the brutal. Children sat cross-legged watching Saturday cartoons. The Flintstones, the Jetsons, Captain Kangaroo. Television at its purest, simple, shared, communal. For the first time, the nation could watch itself evolve in real time. Dinner wasn't fancy, but it was reliable. Meatloaf with ketchup on top, pot roast with carrots, fried chicken on Sunday, spaghetti on Wednesday, casseroles ruled, tuna noodle, green bean with fried onions. TV dinners in aluminum trays were modern magic. Jell-O molds at every potluck, deviled eggs, potato salad, sweet tea in the South, coffee everywhere else. McDonald's golden arches were rising beside highways, 15 cents for a hamburger, 12 cents for fries. Diners were the heart of small-town America. Red vinyl booths, jukeboxes at every table. The waitress knew your order. Food wasn't exotic. Garlic was suspicious, but meals were warm, filling, and shared. Dinner meant the family sat together. No distractions, just food, conversation, and the belief that this was enough. If you love rediscovering the America that once was, subscribe and join us on the next trip back in time. American schools were evolving, sometimes forward, sometimes painfully. Desegregation was happening, slowly, against fierce resistance. Little Rock, Birmingham. Progress, one classroom at a time. Inside those classrooms, wooden desks and chalkboards, the Pledge of Allegiance every morning. Teachers commanded respect. Discipline was swift, but there was also care. Teachers knew their students. After Sputnik, science became exciting. Kids built model rockets, dreamed of becoming astronauts. College campuses became centers of protest. Berkeley, Columbia, students questioning everything. Education was no longer just about absorbing information. It was about thinking critically, questioning, resisting. The generation gap wasn't just about music. It was about what kind of future America was building. Factories still hummed across the Rust Belt. Steel mills in Pittsburgh, auto plants in Detroit, union jobs with good pay and pensions. A man could support a family on one income, but the economy was shifting. Office jobs were growing, white-collar work replacing blue-collar. Madison Avenue was booming. Advertising sold the American dream. Service jobs expanded. Fast food, retail, gas stations. The phrase career became more common. Climbing the corporate ladder, making something of yourself, the organization man became both ideal and target. By decade's end, younger workers questioned, is success worth the conformity? Maybe meaning mattered more than money. In the early 60s, most women followed a script. Get married, have children, keep house. Betty Friedan called it the problem that has no name. But women were beginning to name it, to resist it. The Equal Pay Act passed in 1963, a first step. Women still earned 60 cents per dollar men made. But the conversation had begun. Birth control became legal, giving women control over their futures. The feminist movement was building, consciousness-raising groups in living rooms, women sharing stories, realizing their struggles were systemic. The National Organization for Women was founded in 1966. Young women looked at their mothers' lives and decided, not me. The 1960s didn't complete the revolution, but it started the conversation that would reshape America. American homes were modest by today's standards. 1,200 square feet, 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Kitchens with linoleum floors and formica counters. Avocado green appliances, harvest gold refrigerators. Living rooms with shag carpeting and wood paneling. A console television, a record player and a cabinet. Air conditioning was still a luxury. Summers meant open windows and box fans. Kids ran through sprinklers. Adults sat on lawn chairs. Basements were unfinished. Concrete floors, laundry area. Yards were bigger, space to play, gardens to tend. Mothers hung laundry on clotheslines. Comfort came from what you had, not what you wanted. The American dream wasn't a mansion. It was a home you owned. The 1960s didn't just change fashion, it rewrote the rules. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 outlawed discrimination. Segregation was illegal now. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 expanded democracy. Black Americans could finally vote without impossible barriers. Loving versus Virginia in 1967 legalized interracial marriage nationwide. The 1965 Immigration Act ended racist quotas. America's doors opened wider. Environmental awareness grew after Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. These weren't just policy changes, they were moral reckonings. America confronting the gap between ideals and reality. All men are created equal. Did we mean it? The 1960s asked that question relentlessly. American medicine was advancing rapidly. Vaccines conquered polio, measles, mumps. Mothers no longer feared summer epidemics. Organ transplants became possible. The first heart transplant in 1967. Birth control pills reshaped society. Medicare and Medicaid were established in 1965. Healthcare for the elderly and poor. Doctors still made house calls. Knew your family. The Surgeon General confirmed in 1964. Smoking causes cancer. Americans believed in science, trusted doctors. The moon landing proved anything was possible. If we could reach the moon, we could cure anything. American youth weren't just growing up, they were dividing. Greasers in leather, jocks in Letterman jackets, beatniks reading poetry, hippies preaching peace. The generation gap was philosophical. Parents valued security, children valued freedom. Don't trust anyone over 30. College campuses became battlegrounds. Students protested Vietnam, burned draft cards. Hell no, we won't go. The counterculture bloomed in San Francisco. Free love, communal living, rejection of materialism. Woodstock in 1969. 500,000 gathering for peace. Not everyone was a hippie, most weren't, but everyone felt the tremors of change. Young people believed they would write the future. The 1960s will forever be defined by the fight for civil rights. Black Americans had waited long enough. Sit-ins at lunch counters, freedom rides, marches through hostile streets. Birmingham, Selma, Montgomery. Images of children blasted by fire hoses, dogs attacking protesters. The nation watched, the world watched. Martin Luther King Jr. at the Lincoln Memorial, I Have a Dream. 250,000 people gathered, black and white together. But the movement wasn't monolithic. Malcolm X spoke of self-defense and black power. Leaders were assassinated. Medgar Evers, Malcolm, Martin. Each death a wound, each death proof of threatened power. But the movement didn't die. By decade's end, legal segregation was dismantled. It wasn't enough. Economic inequality persisted, but steps were taken that could never be undone. Ordinary people, armed with courage, changed their country. Vietnam haunted the 1960s. It started small. By 1968, over 500,000 troops were there. Young men drafted and sent to fight in jungles half a world away. Every evening, war footage on television, body bags coming home. At first, Americans supported the war, but doubt grew. Students protested, hey, LBJ, how many kids did you kill today? Kent State, 4 students shot by the National Guard, the country tearing apart. Veterans came home to a divided nation. 58,000 Americans died, millions of Vietnamese. For what? Vietnam didn't just cost lives, it cost trust. Americans stopped believing their government always told the truth. If Vietnam divided America, the space race united it. Kennedy promised in 1961, "We choose to go to the moon." NASA became the symbol of American ingenuity. Children dreamed of becoming astronauts. Apollo 1 ended in tragedy. 3 astronauts died. The nation mourned. NASA kept going. July 20th, 1969. Apollo 11 landed on the moon. Neil Armstrong. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. 600 million people watched worldwide. Families gathered around televisions. Strangers embraced. For one moment, divisions faded. America had done the impossible. The flag on the moon was American, but the achievement felt universal. It proved that dreams could become reality. The future didn't have to be dark. It could be full of stars. They called it the 60s. But it was more than a decade. It was a transformation, an upheaval, an awakening, a time when America felt both broken and alive. We've revisited 15 parts of that life. Suburban homes and color TVs, Motown and protests, civil rights marches and moon landings, hope and heartbreak intertwined. Through it all, one thing stands out: the courage it took to live through those times. To question, to demand better, to believe change was possible. Maybe the world was simpler then, maybe the choices were fewer, but the passion, that was real. Was America happier then? More united? That's for you to decide. But one thing's certain, something about that time still echoes in the hearts of those who lived it.